Hi, welcome to This Learning with Loden. And this month we have some special guests with us. I have Miss Eggleston with us, and she works with broadcast media and journalism at Nixa High. And you guys have had a wonderful year, and you have some students with you. And I just wanted to ask about the updates. What are some of the highlights on this school year?
Well, this school year, it's been full speed ahead. We just got back from Seattle, actually, at a national journalism convention. And the students did quite well there. Wingspan got second place best of show.
Well, that's phenomenal.
It is phenomenal, yes. We've worked all year long, and it's kind of, sometimes it feels like a little bit of a grind, when you're going day in, day out, and, no breaks. But then this time of year, things start looking up because the students are getting noticed for the good work that they've done. Hannah Sheeman has gotten All Missouri Awards from the State of Missouri Journalism Association for her work. Glennis has done some really big things, and I'll let her talk about that as well. She's won awards, but also is going to have some big things happening this summer.
Oh, tell us more.
Okay, so I have two different journalism programs going on this summer. First one is Medill Cherubs at Northwestern, and that one is 84 students, rising seniors, from all over the world. They take a decent amount of international students, so I kind of applied on a whim, and I got in. And then the other one that we found out about last weekend in Seattle was I applied for News Writer of the Year for Quill and Scroll, which is one of the big national journalism organizations, and they had a team sort of project that they were doing with the School of the New York Times, and they chose a student from the finalists of News Writer of the Year to get a full ride to the School of the New York Times this summer. And so even though I was the runner-up News Writer of the Year, I still won that. So
Congratulations. So you'll be going to New York this summer?
Yes.
Oh, that's phenomenal.
Yeah.
New York and Chicago, so
And
she's going to be
Chicago.
very busy.
You're going to be busy this summer and doing what you love.
Yes.
Right. And Glennis is a junior. Hannah's a sophomore, but you wouldn't know it because she joined the advanced class last year as a freshman right in the middle of the year because I could see some big talent that she had.
There's not just but a handful of sophomores in your program, so that says a lot. And you have 2 more years. That's phenomenal.
Yes, and so she's really good at all of the broadcast stuff that she does, like editing. She has very high standards. She's done a lot for the junior high. This year, they were needing some videos made about the electives that they're offering so that they could show these videos to 6th graders who were trying to plan their schedules out for next year. And the best way to do that was a video. She gave up one of her days off. There was a teacher work day this fall. She went over to the junior high and did all this filming and spent a lot of time perfecting that. And I've heard a lot of good comments from the teachers because they really appreciated
I bet that
all
was
the
a
hard
lot
work
of
she
fun.
did.
It was fun, too.
She's really good at organizing things too. So she keeps our student staff on schedule, and then she keeps those standards really high too. So she's doing a great job.
So tell me this, I know you're going to have summer break and you're going to be busy like always, but what do you have planned for the fall?
The fall, so I'm thinking about yearbook right now. I got to go back over to the high school in a few minutes and check to see if our yearbooks just came in, but this is the second year that we've done a spring release yearbook. It used to come out in the fall, like the next school year. So we're going to keep going with that momentum in the yearbook. Hannah's going to join our yearbook next year.
That takes a lot of work to have it ready for the spring, doesn't it?
It does, yes. So we've been just, zooming along. We just got done with our last deadline on Monday. The hardback books are coming on, and then we'll put all the spring stuff in an extra supplement in the back of the yearbook so students can get their spring sports and the prom stories and all that. Next year, we're going to keep going with the wingspan plans. Glennis, along with another student, Nikolai Palomo, have done a lot of work to increase our coverage on the website. So there's nixajournalism.net. We used to just kind of keep it up where we would have the Eagle Air broadcast show that would show up, and then whatever was printed in the magazine would be on the website. But we would get critiques back from different organizations, and they'd say you're doing great, but your website needs a little work. So I kind of mentioned it to Glennis and the other students on staff, and they just took that and ran with it. So they've been working really hard this year to get that momentum
So you have
up.
more variety now, and
Yes, more variety and more updates. So it's not just waiting until Eagle Air comes out or waiting until the magazine comes out. So I just edited 4 stories today just to get those posted. You know, there's a lot going on at the high school right now, so we're trying to cover all the big things happening. So you want to talk about how you kind of led that?
Sure. So our staff this year with Wingspan, we're a lot of new students. And so for the first kind of issue or so, we knew that the website would be active because during J1, students get their stories published that first semester. And so we kind of knew we had 1 semester of like wiggle room. And so that kind of helped us get our feet in the game of how are we going to run the magazine. And then from there, second semester, I talked to Nikolai about this because he started doing a lot more website work himself. And so I asked him if he would want to kind of try to run the website and what systems need to be in place, how are we going to do that, and what steps were we going to take. And from there, our website just kind of took off. He's really, really good at running the website, and he just is very good at organizing and scheduling stuff. And so our main priority is to make sure that the stories that we're posting are very relevant to the students, because we can't really do that as much with our magazines always, because we can do more of the quicker news on the website compared to in the magazine. And I think if anything, it's a lot of extra communication going on, making sure you're on top of your deadlines, and the team has done an amazing job with that this year. So,
And I used to work in journalism before I became a teacher, and so when I was in it a long time ago, I was on the print side of things, and so you would write the story, take the picture. I did a lot of the page design and copy editing, but now journalism has changed so much where it's got to be everything. So you've got to have it online, got to have it on the social media. You've got to have videos along with the written stories. And so, Eagle Air has kind of taken a lot of ownership in that. Like, Hannah, you did the story about the cell phone policies at the beginning of the year. So she did the video story. Glennis, you wrote the written story, right? Okay. And then we, posted that as a big package, promoted on we have a journalism Instagram site. And so these kids are really like doing the whole package.
So you have everything from traditional print and broadcast to social media.
Right.
And we're kind of the same. There's certain articles that go in our magazines that are going to be more enduring, permanent articles. But then there's a lot of things that are happening so fast that you have to just go with it on social media right now.
Right. And at the beginning of the year, the cell phone policy was a big discussion item. And so, they're always looking at, thinking about what do we need to teach people, what do we need to teach our student audience about it, and why things have changed. And so they did a good job.
And that helped because we've had a great year with our cell phones been a lot different than the past where they're kind of put away.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Some good updates. Now, you have benefited, often with our bond issues, bond campaigns, we talk about adding on to buildings or big projects, but there's a lot of smaller things that happen behind the scenes, and you have had several upgrades because of bond dollars. Would you mind sharing that with our stakeholders?
Yeah. So when I started working here, almost 8 years ago, I had the good classroom. It's a good sized classroom, but we didn't have a studio spot for broadcast or print photography. And so we would set up a little corner of the classroom with all the equipment and then take that down after Eagle Air was done and then put up the photo equipment. And so, it was a big workload that kind of ate into some of the classroom time. So yeah, I talked to the district leaders and talked about how, we would love to have this studio space. I've got a convenient adjoining classroom near my classroom. So you just open up the door and there's another classroom. And so we got, with the bond issue, a full studio. So there's a broadcast studio. We have an Eagle Air anchor desk, some good ceiling mounted lights that will kind of pivot. And so sometimes they're facing at the anchor desk during anchoring for Eagle Air TV. Sometimes they'll pivot around for an interview, which we have a couple of interview chairs for that. We've also got a podcast corner, which we're trying to get up and moving, and that's a big plan for next year, because this year our podcast needed some growth, and so next year we're going to really make that happen and get people back into the podcasts. And then on the other corner of that is a print photography studio. So it's got lighting, triggers so that the flashes will flash, along with the camera. And so Eagle Air's used, obviously, the studio quite a bit, but also Yearbook and Wingspan have used that print corner. Actually used it today, so yeah.
So I remember when I first arrived, you had in the corner of the room just a green screen, and
Right.
everything was cluttered. And now you have what I would call a mini version of what Color 10 or KY3 would have. I mean, it's a high school set, but it's still really nice, and
Right.
it's just like you're broadcasting with the television shows. And
Yeah, and it fits
The
our
lighting.
needs just perfectly. We're not KY3 or Color 10, but we're not bad. And so, the students are able to use that equipment. We've got some good cameras in there too. And so I try to structure the classes so it's more, me advising and not necessarily doing, because the students are the ones who want to do all that work. And so they're the ones setting up the cameras. They've got a teleprompter that they're setting up. They're doing all the lighting and, making sure everything's just right. We'll look at different episodes of Eagle Air and
so it's
kind of
really
give feedback
giving
for
them
each
real
other.
world experience if they're working behind the scenes with the lights and cameras, because that's a big part of setting up a studio.
Right.
So we may have students that are working for Color 10 or Bass Pro or someone behind the scenes filming someday.
Right, and we've all, learned along with this studio because we haven't had it that long, and so, I had a learning curve with the teleprompter, for example, and different things that we're all still discovering that we can do with that. We can change up backgrounds or change up lighting, and there's still a lot of growth that we can do. Just as an Eagle Air or a Wingspan team. So.
Well, I know as a teacher, it's going to be nice having both these ladies back next year and having a good foundation to build on. I can't wait to see what happens.
Right. Yeah, they're doing a great job.
And we'll have to interview you again about your summer and what all happens this summer. It sounds like you're going to have a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity.
Yeah, well, I guess twice in a lifetime since it's two journalism
Well, that's true.
programs.
That's very
but
true.
still very
It's
excited.
not every day you're in Chicago and New York in the same summer.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Well, I guess that's our sign. And thanks for coming in today, and I hope you have a great summer, and thanks for being on our podcast.